They say that birthdays are supposed to be special, a day where you feel seen, appreciated, and loved. For most people, it's a day filled with hugs, laughter, and the warmth of family. But for me, my birthday had always been a bitter reminder that in my family, I didn't matter, not compared to my older brother, Daniel. From the time we were kids, Daniel was the golden boy. He was charming, athletic, always knew how to impress. My parents adored him. Every single year when his birthday came around, the entire neighborhood practically shut down. Huge banners, tables full of food, a guest list that looked like a wedding reception. Lavish didn't even begin to describe it. He got the latest gadgets, designer clothes, even once a used car for his 16th birthday. And me? My birthdays were treated like an afterthought. Sometimes I'd get a small cake from the grocery store, sometimes not even that. "We'll celebrate later," my mom would say. "Money's tight right now." But a few months later, for Daniel's birthday, money magically wasn't so tight anymore. I watched this happen year after year, and each time it cut deeper. When I was younger, I tried to convince myself that maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe it was bad timing. Maybe they didn't realize how much it hurt me. But the truth was obvious. I wasn't the favorite child. I wasn't even close. One year, I mustered the courage to bring it up. I asked my mom, "Why don't we ever celebrate my birthday like we do for Daniel?" She gave me that tired smile, patted my shoulder, and said, "Sweetheart, you know your brother's birthday just happens to be in summer when everyone is free. Yours is during the school year. It's harder to plan." I wanted to believe her, but even as a teenager, I knew it was a lie. If they wanted to celebrate me, they could have. They just didn't care enough. Fast forward to adulthood. You'd think maybe things would change when I grew older, when I had a job, when I proved I was responsible. But no. Even in my 20s, my parents still forgot my birthdays. My brother, on the other hand, was still getting his yearly royal treatment. I'd see photos on Facebook of his parties, hotel venues, DJs, champagne towers. My phone? It stayed silent, except for maybe a 2-word text from my mom that said, "Happy birthday." The pain turned into anger, and the anger slowly turned into determination. Because this year would be different. This time I wasn't going to sit quietly and watch them parade around for Daniel while pretending I didn't exist. No. This time, I was going to remind them exactly who I was. And the way I did it? Let's just say they'll never forget my birthday again. It all started 3 months before my birthday. I had been working tirelessly at my job, grinding long hours, saving money. Unlike my brother, I didn't have handouts. I had to build my life brick by brick. But in a way, that made me stronger. I knew my family would, once again, ignore my birthday and pour everything into Daniel's. But instead of waiting for the disappointment, I decided to flip the script. I started planning. First, I booked myself a trip. Not just any trip. I went big. I bought a ticket to Hawaii, reserved a beachfront villa, and made sure everything was picture perfect. If they weren't going to celebrate me, I was going to celebrate myself. But I didn't stop there. I wanted this to sting. I wanted them to finally feel the shame they had made me feel for years. So I started dropping little hints. I casually mentioned to my mom that work had been going well. I told my dad I'd been planning something exciting. They barely paid attention, as usual. The weeks rolled on, and sure enough, when Daniel's birthday came around in June, the circus was in full swing again. My parents rented out a fancy rooftop restaurant in the city. I wasn't even invited until the day before. An afterthought, as always. But I went. And this time, I didn't sit quietly in the corner. I dressed sharp, I carried myself with confidence, and I made sure to talk about my upcoming plans. Of course, they barely listened, too busy fawning over Daniel. I smiled because I knew what was coming. When my birthday arrived a few weeks later, my phone was silent again. No calls, no party, no surprise. Just the same emptiness I'd grown used to. But instead of sulking, I boarded my flight to Hawaii. And that's when the fun began. I started posting everything on social media. Crystal clear photos of the beach, the villa, the luxury dinners. I wrote captions like, "Celebrating me for once," and "Sometimes you have to throw your own party." At first, no one reacted. But then the comments started flooding in. Friends, coworkers, even distant relatives, they all wished me happy birthday. They all congratulated me for treating myself. And then my parents saw it. My brother saw it. That's when the fireworks went off. Suddenly, my mom was blowing up my phone. "Why didn't you tell us you were doing this? You should have invited us. This looks too expensive. How can you afford this?" My brother chimed in too. "Wow, show off much? Who even cares about birthdays like that?" I laughed. Oh, they cared now. By day 3 of my trip, their jealousy was undeniable. My mom left passive-aggressive comments on my posts. "Wish we could have been there," she wrote, as if she hadn't ignored my birthdays for decades. My dad sent me a text that said, "You're being selfish." Selfish. Imagine that. After years of being forgotten, after years of watching them pour thousands of dollars into Daniel's happiness, I was selfish for finally celebrating myself. But I didn't let it get to me. I leaned into it. I posted videos of luau's, sunset cruises, even me sipping cocktails by the ocean. I captioned one photo. "It feels good to finally make myself the priority." That one hit them hard. My aunt called me later that night and said, "Your mom is furious. She feels like you're embarrassing the family." I smiled and told her, "Good. Maybe now they'll understand how I felt all these years." The best part? The more they tried to guilt me, the more support I got from others. People were commenting things like, "Good for you," and "You deserve this." It was validation I had never gotten from my own family. When I returned home, things were different. My parents couldn't look me in the eye. Daniel acted like I'd committed some crime. But deep down, I knew what I had done. I had finally flipped the script. I had shown them that I wasn't going to sit quietly in the shadows anymore. And here's the truth. Revenge doesn't always have to be loud or destructive. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is living well, thriving, and letting the people who underestimated you choke on their own bitterness. Every year, my family forgot my birthday. They made me feel invisible. But this time, I made sure they'd never forget it again. Because while they were busy throwing parties for my brother, I was busy building a life for myself. And when the day finally came, I threw a celebration so bright, so undeniable, that even they couldn't ignore me anymore. And that, right there, was the revenge I had been waiting for.